We're ready. We're ready to rock and roll this evening. It's going to be hot. Aubrey Norton is with us. Paul Slow is with us, and it's going to be a hot, really, really, really hot program. So spread the word, share the link. They're coming up shortly. First, we'll have Mr. Paul Slow. No stranger to you guys, right? Then we'll have Mr. Aubrey Norton. No stranger to you guys, too. What a wonderful program there with Dinesh, members of Parliament, Dinesh Jaiprashad and Natasha Singh Lewis. We'll be back with our guest on Straight Up. Do share the link. We'll be watching you, and we'll be seeing exactly who have shared the link and who didn't share the link. We'll be right back.
That little ditty we used to torment our teachers with when we were kids goes something like this. Onward, upward, Mary had a go. Day by day she tied it to a rope, till at length they got bust the rope, and Miss Mary had to run behind it. We had a lot of fun with that, but do you actually know how beautiful these words are? Here's the Song of Guyana's Children by W. Hawley Bryant. Born in the land of the mighty Roraima, land of great rivers and far-stretching sea, so like the mountains, the sea, and the river, great, wide, and deep in our lives would we be. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana sons and daughters can be. In the land of Kaiture's shining splendor, land of the palm tree, the croton and fern, we would possess all the virtues and graces, we all the glory of goodness would learn. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana sons and daughters can be. Born in the land where men sought El Dorado, land of the diamond and bright shining gold, we would build up by our faith, love, and labor God's golden city, which never.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
That little ditty we used to torment our teachers with when we were kids goes something like this. Onward, upward, Mary had a go. Day by day she tied it to a rope, till at length they got bust the rope, and Miss Mary had to run behind it. We had a lot of fun with that, but do you actually know how beautiful these words are? Here's the Song of Guyana's Children by W. Hawley Bryant. Born in the land of the mighty Roraima, land of great rivers and far-stretching sea, so like the mountains, the sea, and the river, great, wide, and deep in our lives would we be. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana sons and daughters can be. Born in the land of...
Okay, guess what? Let's get ready to rock and roll this evening. I know that you thought I was going to say, let's get ready to do something else, rumble or something. Right, but it is what we do from a political standpoint. Do share the link and have folks get to see us, listen to us wide and far. Good evening to all of you guys on the ground listening to us via the radio. 107.1 FM. That's correct. 107.1 FM. June Beresford and all you guys, good evening. You know, the regular crew who are always ready to confront the trench crappos once and for all. Get ready to confront the trench crappos, if you know what I mean. Don't be afraid to confront them. Hey, our operators still have, Andrew's Supermarket. Andrew's Supermarket is getting another plug. Our operator, and you know who our operator is, right? Lemon. What a name for a little child. And Lemon, is a grown man now, but Lemon, I don't know. Something must have gone wrong with his parents to give him such a name like Lemon. These guys, I can just imagine, you know what I mean? Probably when kids in class, when they hear such a name, they look at him, give him this funny face. Lemon? You've got to be kidding, right? All right, but on a serious note, let's look at this, the Village Voice newspaper. If you haven't picked up your copy, they published over the weekend. You've got to get the Village Voice newspaper for the truth. Don't waste time with the other papers and the propaganda and all these things. Sit down, columnists who probably on some sort of medication and these things. Just spend your money where it's worth your while. The Village Voice newspaper. Give them a plug, right? Give them a plug. The Village Voice newspaper. Buy them. Support them. And now, moving on to something else. This guy is still in jail, right? He is in Moscow, Russia. Still in jail. Still no word from the installed regime. No word from the installed regime. If I had my way, but then again, I don't want to say anything about my way, right? And it's not that song from I Did It My Way, Frank Sinatra, or maybe Slow can correct me if it's Paul Sinatra, but I did it my way. But if I had my way, anyways, let's just put that to rest for a couple of minutes. Let's don't go down that road if I had my way, because there's so many things would have been different. I would have done it my way. But we are hearing that on the campaign trail, right? We are hearing my way on the campaign trail. But let's get back to this guy sitting in a jail cell in Russia, Moscow. He had a hearing last Saturday or maybe Friday evening. And guess what the Russian authority said? Hey, you got to go back to jail until January 24th. So Sean Pike hasn't the only crime, according to the Russian authority, that he committed is because he's a Jehovah's Witness. He is a Jehovah's Witness. In the time 2021, people are being jailed, yes, because of their religion. And I know I've seen some comments by some folks who are saying, well, you know what?
He should have known better to be in the people's country and to know that it is illegal to be a Jehovah's Witness. In 2021, it is illegal to practice your damn religion that you want to practice. And some folks are saying that he should have known better. He should have known better. Oh, me a break to all of you who say he should have known better. He should have known better. It is just like some of our ancestors from Africa. They were roaming the streets and they were caught and rounded up. And he should have known better. He should not have gone through that street. He could have cut through some back alley and be out in the forest, in the jungle. He should have known better than to get caught and placed into slavery. He should have known better, right? Or one of our ancestors who was actually enslaved decided to escape. And say, you should have known better. He should not have escaped. He should have known better. I'm sick and tired of some people saying, he should have known better. Bernadette James, I hope you're not one of them that said, he should have known better. Right? He should have known. Repeat it after me. Some of those people who, he should have known better. Right? He should have known better. Give me a break. But he should have known better. Yeah, Dion. I'm sorry, Carl Miller. You know, you guys, look, share the link, man, because I'm now getting started. He should have known better. This young man, a talented young man, a citizen of Guyana, citizen of Russia as well. He speaks Guyanese twang, right? Abidisana it is. He's also fluent in Russian. In Russian, sorry, and privet, kak de la. Hello to all of the Russians who are listening as well. This guy, Sean Pike, has got to be freed. He's got to be freed. And now, what is the installed regime doing about this? A citizen of Guyana in a jail cell. But then again, hey, don't you guys, 1 minute, and look, let me say hi to somebody here. Let me say hi to her, because if I don't, she may get a bit upset. And you know, people do get upset with Mark. They get upset with Mark because Mark maybe is not supporting their candidate. They get upset with Mark because Mark may be better looking than them. They get upset with Mark because, hi, Brian Wood. They just get upset with Mark, right? But the regime is just quiet. But I'm not just concerned about the regime being quiet, because you know what the regime is all about. If the regime don't give a damn about prisoners in Guyana, and they have a history of jailing people, they have a history of doing that, you think they are going to be concerned about Sean Pike and his family? This young man is sitting in a filthy jail cell in Moscow, Russia, with convicted prisoners. Look, I'm tired of those guys, man, seriously. But then again, the opposition is quiet. And maybe we are going to hear that they're waiting until the party elections is over. Then they are going to do all sort of things. Some of the candidates are doing that. They're saying that. Wait until I'm elected. Wait until I'm elected. All of them are saying that. Wait until I'm elected. I got to ask Aubrey Norton about this wait until I'm elected kind of thing. But the shadow minister of, Foreign Affairs for the coalition seems to be in the shadow. We're not hearing anything. Anyways, when you talk, they get vexed, right? They get upset. They get real upset. And they say, Benschop get a big mouth. Benschop talks too much. And all these things. Or Benschop doesn't like me. Give me a break, right? Benschop. Good evening to all of you, man. Lots of things happening in our country. Lots of things. Our guest, our operator signaled to me that we have Mr. Paul Snow with us, a man who has served his country with distinction. And now nobody's perfect. Paul reminded me, Mr. Slow reminded me the other day, Mark, you and I went up the road a couple of times, but let's agree to disagree. And that is the nature of democracy. But putting that aside, I salute this man's service to his country. 48 years or probably more, 48 years of service to Guyana as a member of the Guyana Police Force. I salute this man. And so the PPP now, they have a history of disrespecting people, disrespecting their service
and all these things, disrespecting their professionalism, disrespecting them maybe because of their ethnicity. Here is the Honorable Paul Slow, CCH, DSM, JP, an Assistant Commissioner of Police, retired. None of them in the PPP, the installed regime. None of them, not even with their 19 fraud charges, could match this man's qualification and his experience. Good evening to you, Mr. Slow.
Good evening, Mark. Good evening to your listeners. Good evening to the viewers. I think you might be frozen there now.
Let me apologize. I just want to apologize to you, Mr. Paul Slow, and all of our listeners. Technical problems in the studio at our end. Again, my apologies. Good evening to you, Mr. Slow.
Good evening, Mark. Good evening to your viewers. Good evening to listeners.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, my apologies for that. Let's start off. Good to see you. And not only good to see you, Mr. Paul Slow, really good. And from the bottom of my heart, good to see that you're alive and well. How have you been recently, sir?
Well, I'm here trying. I'm here battling with the times, trying to stay safe and to stay alive.
Trying to stay safe, trying to stay alive, which is good. I've noticed some people saying that no sound. Let me get a quick feedback from some of our listeners. Sherwin Green, mind you, nephew of my good friend, former Commissioner of Police, the late Henry Green. Sherwin, are you guys hearing us loud and clear? Are you guys hearing us loud and clear? Please let us hear. Are you hearing us loud and clear? All right, good. Mr. Wood says yes, loud and clear. So let's continue. I know you've had a couple of, your case or cases in the magistrate's court. Outside of that, we are hearing some horrible things, and knowing the nature of the PPP in terms of going after people who they just don't like, or people who are not saying the right things according to them. Before we get into this little bit of information that we saw on your post about persons in the underworld and all these things wanting to come after you to possibly eliminate you. What is the mood like on the ground? Before we get to that specific question, what is the mood like on the ground? I know as of this month, 100 persons have already died as a result of coronavirus. What's the situation on the ground with that, sir? And
Well, I really can't say because I came in as it was stated. I came into Guyana specifically to attend court, and most of my time has been tied up with the court matters and seeing the lawyers to brief the lawyers and to get proper legal advice. And so therefore, what I know of coronavirus and that type of thing is what I've seen on social media and read in the newspapers.
All right, I'm glad that you were safe as well, and you and your family. When you were harassed, assaulted by those rookies in the Guyana police force, you went into the police station there at Saint Stanislaus College, is now a police academy, to file a report against Mr. Anil Nandalal. What is the status of that report since you filed it, sir?
Well, since then, I more than anything, that report was filed on the 15th of this month, immediately following my appearance in court. And I filed the report. I supplied the police with a transcript of the offending statements aired on NCN on the program Issues on the News on June 29th. I also supplied them with my statement in respect of that. And so far, I have not heard anything from the police.
Absolutely nothing. Not unexpected at all. We all knew this. They're not going to want to do anything. Now, I don't know how accurate this is, but I'm getting a report according to Alwyn Austin, and thank you so much for this information. We got to get it verified that Charleston Post Office is on fire. Charleston Post Office is on fire. We'll want to get that confirmed, but thank you so much for that information, Alwyn. Mr. Slow.
Yeah, Mark, I saw a live Facebook feed a while ago of some fire somewhere. It looks like in Georgetown, so maybe that's what is. That's where it is.
Oh wow! Another fire, another building. Gosh, and I can just imagine what is going through people's minds. Who need that property? Who needs that land? Whatever. It's oftentimes the case. Too many fires, way too many fires of recent, within the past year. Too many fires. Mr. Paul Slow, I know we're just on for a few minutes with you here, but I read a post on social media, on Facebook, and I want our listeners and those who are viewing us, especially also our listeners on the ground. And it's very disturbing. It says here, good morning. I was informed by a usually reliable source that I should be extra careful, because persons have approached some known underworld characters to shut up Paul Slow. Well, we know what that shut up Paul Slow means. The source reminded me of what happened to Ronald Waddle and Courtney Crummy Wing. Now, end of quote. Now, I know you 48 years as a police officer, a policeman, served your country with distinction. You wouldn't publish such an information unless you know that you thoroughly went through this particular rumor that you're hearing. You wouldn't publish something like that just to get attention. That is not Paul Slow. That is not the Paul Slow that I know. Tell us a little bit about this, because this is very disturbing. Tell us a little bit about this information that you've heard.
Well, for the longest while, people have been telling me to be careful. And if you were to check my Facebook page, people have cautioned me to be careful. But this is someone who went a little further to say that you have to be extra careful because he understands that this plan might be afoot. And I want to say that when you take it put it in the context of all that has been going on, with the Police Service Commission, which I chaired, the court matters, the trumped up charges, and charged for conspiracy to commit fraud, in respect of my role along with others to revise the police standing orders. And then when I went to court on the 15th of October, 3 charges of sexual assault were read, where it is alleged that I robbed a young lady's leg without her permission on 3 consecutive meeting days. That charge is before the court. And then the very day as you alluded to earlier, I had cause to file a criminal complaint against the Attorney General for statements he made, which I was advised by my attorney. Those statements were in violation of the Cybercrime Act of 2018. And then following that, I had to make of the arrest, the attempted arrest, or the actual arrest, because by definition, the police ranks held on to me and prevented me from going about my lawful business, assaulted me. I had cause to file criminal complaints against them with the police, as well as with the chairman of the Police Complaints Authority. So when you look at all of those incidents, and then the warning from these gentlemen, taking them into context, then I have every reason to believe that there's some truth to what was said. And when you also look, I looked at the statement made by the Attorney General on June the 29th. Among the things he said, and I have the transcript right here, he did indicate that Paul Slow et al. Are behaving like anarchists. That is how anarchists behave. He went on to say that they, referring to Paul Slow and the members of the Police Service Commission, have no place in a society governed by the rule of law. Now that, to my mind, is a threat. And therefore, having regards to that and all the other incidents that I refer to, I think there's every reason for me to be concerned for my safety and to take that caution very, very seriously.
And you have to. This reminds me of I met your colleague. I've interviewed him so many times, but the last interview I did with him before he passed away, that is Commissioner of Police Larry Lewis. He admitted to me on tape, and I still do have that interview, where he said that known characters, businessmen, questionable businessmen, approached him and asked if he, Larry Lewis, wanted them to get rid of Benschop. I still do have that interview on tape. So I understand where you're coming from, and especially under the PPP, how these guys operate, how the PPP operate, and their underworld connections and these sort of things. When you heard that, did that make you feel like any way? Because we know that Paul Slow is not afraid of those sort of things. But how are you feeling about that? Threatened?
Well, I feel threatened, and as I've said before, and I'm saying it again, fear is not something that paralyzes me. When the type of fear that I will have is not a fear that paralyzes or immobilizes you. It's one that causes you to be extra careful and to put mechanisms in place to protect yourself.
You've got to put things in place to protect yourself. I'm looking at a lot of the comments there. Seems, yes, there's a fire. Charlestown Police Post Station, Post Office, sorry. Thank you guys for all of that information. And so Mr. Paul Slow is with us. Have you made a report to the police concerning what you've heard?
Well, I have not. I have to speak to the lawyers because, as I've said before, and I repeat it here for emphasis, the people who have been behind this, the trumped up charge, the assault and the arrest and all of that are police. I've made reports against police, and I'm aware that senior police officers are behind this. Maybe, and as the former chief magistrate, Mr. K. Jumani Asima, asked whether this is politically motivated, I am convinced that many of the issues that have arisen in the past months concerning myself and other members of the commission, other members of the force, are politically motivated. So I have to be advised whether I should really inform the very police who I am aware are behind some of these things about what is going on. I don't think that would be the wisest thing for me to do.
Probably wouldn't be, and I'm glad that you're making that clear. And here's why this is troubling, Mr. Paul Slow. Having given 48 years of service, maybe a little longer than that, left in as an assistant commissioner of police. Could have been the commissioner of police, but because of the politics then under the PPP, but you left as an assistant commissioner of police. That you have said that you are pro-police.
You have nothing, no problem with the Guyana police force other than the fact that it seemed to have been hijacked by the politicians of the day, those who are part of the installed regime. How does this make you feel, sir, with all of your years of service, saying as a former senior police officer, that you are reluctant to give information to members of the Guyana police force who are sworn to protect and serve? How does that make you feel?
Well, they are disappointed, but as I've said before, and as you said a while ago, um, I am pro-police. I have nothing against the police per se. I know that they are corrupt and dishonest senior officers who are being used by politicians to get at me. And therefore, as I've said, I have to be careful because I know who the characters are, you know. Remember you said 48 years, well, 27 active years in the force, and I've had an association with them since I've left. And therefore, I know who these characters are. I know people who have the capability, who have the connections to be engaged in a plot like the one that has been allegedly made. So I know who these people are, and I know what they are capable of, and therefore that will inform the actions I will take.
All right. We're glad that you know who those vagabonds are. Some of those vagabonds are in the police force, and some of the vagabonds are on the world, drug lords and so forth. And I'm sure they are connected to the PPP. I say no more, but we have to prepare to go to our next guest, Aubrey Norton. We know we have said, promised you just a few minutes. But Mr. Slow, are you concerned at all with all of the fires that we're hearing? Brickdam Police Station, Multilateral School, other schools, now the post office?
The concern is that, you know, we have always had fires in Guyana. But my concern this time around is that there appears to be no proper investigation to determine the cause of the fire. And that is worrying because we had the fire at the police station in the police building in Vigilance. I understand if people said that that was arson, and you haven't heard anything more about that. We had the fire at the Multi. I don't think any cause has been given. We had a fire in Mabaruma somewhere there. I'm not aware of the cause of that fire. The breakdown fire, even though the fire service claim seems to have given a cause, I don't know what proper investigation could have taken place when within 24 hours the debris was being cleared. And so indeed these things are worrying, and until such time that they are properly investigated and a credible cause is given, then one has to remain concerned and worried.
Very concerned and worried. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Slow, CCH, DSM, JP, Assistant Commissioner of Police, retired. We thank you so much for your time. In the event that I may not have asked you a particular question that you believe is important for our listeners to hear, in your closing remarks, take that opportunity, sir.
Well, again, I just want to say that the characters involved, well, allegedly involved in these things are known. I remember, and when we talk about connection to the underworld, I remember some years ago, people might tend to forget, can't remember the exact year, but a serving assistant commissioner at the time pointed out to the then commissioner, Mr. Green, that one of the characters was driving a car of a known drug man. He was driving every day, he drove it into his compound to go to work. So I say that to emphasize the fact that the people do have underworld connection, and therefore the report or the statement made to me cannot and will not be taken lightly.
Will not be taken lightly. I recall that incident as well. Someone that was somewhat close to right there in the office of then Commissioner of Police Henry Green, who has since passed away. I think I have an idea. But thank you so much for your time, Mr. Paul Slow. And thank you again for your service to Guyana. Lots of prayers. People, I'm seeing the comments. People are with you. People are with you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you so much,
Anytime.
Mr.
Thank
Slow.
you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Mr. Paul Slow there, man. We've got to support. We've got to pray for him as well, because at the end of the day, these things are unacceptable. Hearing a man who left at the rank of what assistant commissioner of police is saying that there is a plot, there is this plot to shut him up. And we know what this shut up means. Just like Ronald Waddle, they shut him up. Not just shut them up, they shut him up. And just what they did to Courtney Crummy Wing, they shut him up. They want to shut Paul Slow up. I don't know. These vagabonds, every time they're in office, something happens. Something happens. Here is Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Compton Norton. Compton Norton is with us. Good evening to you, Mr. Norton. How are you, sir?
Good evening. I wonder why you were stressing the Compton.
Maybe I had some cook up earlier. Compton. Mr. Norton, you just heard, before we get into what you heard Mr. Paul Slow just said there about this plot by some underworld and people connected possibly to the installed regime, possibly, but we know. What's your take on all these fires, man? We're hearing that the post office in Charleston is under fire. What's your take, sir?
Well, I've been hearing about these fires. Um, I know it is usual when PPP link people want a property or the land, it tends to go up in fire. I don't know what is the situation here. I found the Brick Dam fire very suspicious because one would have thought that if you're going to investigate the fire, you will allow the firemen, the police, to comb the debris and see what clues they would have gotten. In this case, from the time the fire was over, the PPP was announcing that they already had a plan and they just clear up everything. So there's no evidence, and that is why it was a colossal joke for the president to say he will get to the bottom of it and bring international people to look at it. I mean, it's really a joke. How do you bring people to seek to find out the cause of fire when you remove all the evidence? It's just the normal PPP corruption. They can't help themselves.
Certainly can't help themselves. Normal PPP corruption. Many of you would have experienced that for the 20-something years they've been in office, practically destroyed Guyana. But thankfully, the coalition came in place in 2015 to help to repair that country. Sadly, they were removed, and a regime, this PPP regime, was installed again. You just heard Mr. Paul Slow saying that, sorry, we're actually getting a feedback from maybe Mr. Norton's end, but you heard Mr. Paul Slow just mention about this plot against him. And what is troubling Mr. Norton is the fact that Mr. Slow has spent 48 years as a policeman, is saying that he's reluctant to go to the police to share the information that he has. What is your take on all of this, sir?
Well, don't forget, Paul Slow historically would have stood up to their corruption. I remember one case where a man with a weapon, they wanted him to give back the weapon, and he thought the man was in violation of law and wanted to act lawfully, so he proceeded to, and the PPP was up against him. The People's Progressive Party is not comfortable with decency. The People's Progressive Party is not comfortable with professionalism. They're comfortable with compromising people, holding swords of Damocles over their heads, and then utilize them for whatever nefarious reasons they want to utilize them for. So it is, in my opinion, clear that somebody like Paul Slow, who acted professionally as a policeman and would have been in the belly of the beast while they dominated and controlled the police linked to drug trafficking and all the other problems, would be skeptical of the police force. If you have a police force that its major objective is not the safety, protection of the people in the society, and ensuring the safety of the people, if you have a police force that clearly has been penetrated by the underworld, then who will trust them? I don't think even the PPP trusts them, because at some stage they will have to act against them because they know so much about their illegalities. Some people alleges in that context that Fraser died. So that's the nature of the police force under the PPP.
Especially under the PPP, politicize it, corrupt it at every level. And this is not to paint all of the policemen and women with the same brush at all. We salute those who are not going to succumb to the corruption and the politicization, of the force by the PPP. Mr. Norton, let's get on. It's campaign time. You're preparing to run for the leader of the People's National Congress Reform. You have been campaigning. You have been selling yourself to the people. You seem to be gaining lots of traction on Facebook. I don't know about on the ground because, with all fairness, I am not on the ground. I can just rely on information, secondhand information on the ground. Some people seem to be yes, some people seem to be in some other areas. But let us talk about your campaign. Before I do have some questions for you, but before I get into those questions, how is your campaign coming along, sir?
I think extremely well. I have been campaigning a while now. I have been to virtually all the regions in Guyana. I'm still to go to region 9. I have been working with the party comrades. I am very clear in my mind that an election is won on the ground. Even the national elections, it's the groundwork that matters. A party election is a groundwork that matters. And I have been doing a lot of groundwork in the party. And I have been reassured by members of the party that they are behind me and they will support me. Some of them complain that there are people who are putting pressure to them to support another candidate. Well, I have said to them, we'll deal with that. You alone will be in the area to mark your ballot, and then you can forget the pressure and do what is required, because it is evident to all that among the candidates I have been and will continue to be the best. I have a clear experience as a politician and being involved in the party. I have argued, and many people have suggested to me that because I have no skeletons in my closet, it makes me a formidable candidate. Of course, the PPP doesn't like that. The PPP likes a situation where they have files on you and they could utilize it, and therefore they will nullify you in terms of campaigning against them. Fortunately, I'm not in that position and I can campaign against them. And I believe the people, the members of the People's National Congress, the supporters want a candidate who can confront the PPP and not be compromised. And in that regard, I am considered to be the forerunner. And so I think the campaign is going well. I noted last night that I said on Sherrod Show that I am going to return education and training to the People's National Congress. And by the time I woke up this morning, one candidate had an ad saying they will return education and training to the party. Well, I don't have a problem with that. I'm glad if you're following me. It means you are learning, you are willing to follow, and I'm prepared to lead.
All right. Well, education has always been a big thing for the PNCR and for leadership of the PNCR. So don't be surprised that others may have spoken about that as well. But let me touch on this. You have mentioned about skeleton in the closets and these things, and some may see this as trying to throw some sort of stain on your opponents and all of these things, because it's a campaign, it's a battle. Opponents will say things about each other. What specifically are you talking about when you mean skeletons in the closets and all of these things?
Well, first of all, I'm throwing no stones. I'm really saying to people, look, you don't have to worry. If I am your leader of the party and I become your presidential candidate, you are sure that the PPP cannot come saying I was involved in any scandal, etc. And therefore, I have no skeletons in my closet. That is just what it means. I can't stop people from inferring things from that. And if you infer something from that, I would hope that you say what you infer rather than suggest what I imply.
All right, let's just prior to this show, there was an MP, Dinesh Jaiprashad, who hinted at the fact that he is comfortable endorsing opposition leader Mr. Harman because he is of the view that Mr. Harman has what it takes to bring in Indian support base in the party and at elections time, which is to suggest that you don't. I know you've spent a lot of time trying to say that you will attract the Indian support base. But here's an Indian guy who is a PNC, a born PNC, is saying and is hinting that maybe you cannot do that. How do you want to look at that?
All I would say to you is look at Facebook today, and you will see that Varun Mahadio endorsed me. If you've been following, you would have seen Hussein.
Who is Jerome Mohammed? I'm just curious.
Varun Mahadio. He was a young man that campaigned assiduously in Georgetown for the 2020 election. Hazrat is a young man who campaigned assiduously on the east bank of Berbice for the PNCR. And I think I saw also one from Fayaz, Marceline Fayaz, endorsing me. So I don't understand the claim. Of course, when you're a member of parliament, you're subjected to certain pressures. And so because I like young Jai Prashad, I wouldn't pressure him or say anything. I think he is a young man with potential. I hope after the elections, we can work together. I hold no grudge against him. I've been in politics long enough to know that people who dominate the status quo tend to pressure young people to achieve their objective. There's one particular person in the PNC who's aligned with that campaign. That's all she spends her time doing, forcing people, molesting people to do what she wants rather than what those people want to do. So I will hold no animosity towards Jai Prashad. I think he's a young man with potential. I understand he's a member of parliament and why he might end up doing that. But I know it is in the ballot. It is when you're casting the X on your ballot that the real vote will occur. I saw today a news item which said that this group in Canada with a particular name under it endorsed Harman. And then I saw subsequently the legitimate groups in Canada said they know nothing about that group and there was no endorsement. So you're experiencing normal politicking at election time. My only interest here is that we should politic in a civilized way, not attack each other outside of the realm of decency. And because at the end of the day, we have to take on the People's Progressive Party. And my whole objective is to take on the People's Progressive Party and to beat them and replace them as a government. So I wouldn't want to play up young Daniel Siram, young Jai Prashad, Ganesh Maipal. I would just leave it. I will do my work. I will speak to them. And on the day of the election, I think the outcome will suggest that a lot of those endorsements weren't genuine endorsements in the sense that people had their free will and there were no swords of Damocles over their heads.
You know, it's ironic that you're saying that some of these people may have been threatened, because I've heard that some MPs are prepared to endorse you. Some MPs have endorsed Mr. Harman already, and some MPs will be endorsing Mr. Van West Charles, Dr. Van West Charles. Why is it that you are of the view that MPs who endorse Mr. Harman may have done it under duress or forced to do that, and those who are planning to endorse you are doing it of their free will? I'm just curious.
I am reliably informed that, well, I didn't mention Mr. Harmon's name because I didn't know he was the source of the pressuring, but I do know that there is one who many of us in the party consider to be a political bully that has been doing that. Um, so, mind you, I didn't say Mr. Harmon did that, though I'm referring to the endorsement of Mr. Harmon. I would say to you, if they're going to invest, if they're going to endorse myself and Mr. Van West Charles, we have no official power to pressurize them, so it will have to be off of their own will. But I must say to you that some members of parliament did say that they were pressurized and some refused to be pressured. Others have different circumstances and might have feel the pressure. It's the nature, the unfortunate nature of the world we live in.
All right. Some of these MPs may feel otherwise, but it's okay. It's the nature of the world we're living in. It's the nature of political campaigning, where you don't necessarily want to paint your opponents in the best of manner. We can understand that. Let's move on. Roysdale Ford, and I saw this letter, you responding to Mr. Roysdale Ford and his utterances. But one of the things that you did say, and correct me if I'm wrong, in describing Mr. Roysdale Ford as a Johnny come lately.
Never did. You said you have the letter. You can read the letter. Like I said last night on a program, it is a wicked journalist who read the letter and put that as a headline. That journalist, to me, has a propensity towards PPP propaganda. And you should know as a journalist, you can read an article and deceive and misinform by putting a particular headline, knowing a lot of people don't read the article. If you go through the article, at no stage did I describe Mr. Roysdale Ford as a Johnny come lately. I said he has not been long enough in the party to know that I was campaign manager for um, Winston Murray, who was an Indian, and as a logical sequel, I was part of a process, so working to ensure that we had the first Indian leader of the party. Unfortunately, he died, and therefore, I don't think anything that I said should have been construed as as me saying he's a Johnny come lately. But you know, when you're dealing with journalists, they have to make money, they have to create some bites, and sometimes they change the language. They read the article, understand it, but choose a headline that deceives. And because a lot of people don't read, and I note one candidate was caught in that syndrome, saying the same thing, but you would have seen the letter. It was on Facebook. At no stage did I accuse him of being a Johnny come lately. And may I also state that I spoke to him personally and I said to him, I do not believe as members of the party we should be involved in that kind of campaign. I will treat you with respect and I hope you reciprocate.
All right, as you know, the history of Mr. Roysdale Ford dated back since 1997 when he was one of the lawyers in the elections petition case when you were General Secretary. So, in the eyes of many in the public, Mr. Roysdale Ford is certainly not a Johnny come lately in the PNC. He did a lot of pro bono works. In fact, he represented you as General Secretary in that elections petition, 1997, that actually concluded in 2001. And there were many other cases that he represented members of the party pro bono,
Well,
including.
I
Yeah.
can say to you without fear of successful contradiction that he did represent me outside of that in the personal capacity. And mind you, I have nothing against Roysdale Ford as a person. I call him and I said that to him. I know his abilities. It is just unfortunate that sometimes the people you are around lead you in a direction when you're a young politician that compromises you. On this matter, I've spoken with Roysdale. Um, I've made it clear to him I have no intention of going after him in any fashion. I have said in no uncertain terms, a young man like Roysdale Ford, and I become leader of the party, there's a place for him. But I think it was unfortunate that at the launching, the language that was chosen was used and ended up creating the kind of problems that it created. And therefore, I was compelled to respond and to show clearly, and this is the point I wanted to make, that more than many, I worked with Indians in the party and was prepared to support a man who I thought was competent, a man who I thought was loyal and dedicated to the party, and a man who I thought was popular in the party, whose name was Winston Murray, who was Indian, and therefore I cannot be accused of not accommodating and being willing to relate to Indians when against the odds of many who didn't want him. I was prepared to go out there and fight for him and to advocate for him and to establish the qualities that made him a member of the party without focusing on his ethnicity.
All right, and well said. I recall seeing you in that campaign, but I just couldn't. I know there are some other folks who are probably of the view that they also served as campaign manager. At that time, there was some
Well,
little.
there was only one campaign manager
Yeah.
for Winston Murray, and his name was Aubrey Norton.
Aubrey
There were
Norton.
others. There were others in the campaign, but I was the person who was the campaign manager. Anybody else who says that, I would just say to you, they're distant to the truth.
All right. I've noticed some people, I don't know what they expect me to bring you on and just probably massage you. I'm here to ask you some questions because you are the candidate. Some of the people may support you, and that is okay.
Mark, you don't need to worry. I never run away from questions. I'm
Exactly.
always disposed to answer the question that I ask. If I don't think I want to answer questions, I wouldn't agree to come in your program. And I generally don't ask people what are the questions before, so that I can answer them naturally in keeping with my values, philosophy, and approach to governance.
You know, I've asked you that. I have invited you more than all of the candidates, every one of the candidates on this show, every single one of the candidates. And let me ask you, and let me agree with you that at all times you never wanted to discuss the question or the subject matter ahead of time. So yes, indeed. But let's get back to your campaign. Two things. So first, persons who are sitting on the fence, who may not want to vote for you, or who may not, who are undecided about other candidates as well. Give two examples or two things that you will do if you are elected leader of the People's National Congress that will able to shift persons to come over to your side.
First of all, like I've said before, I will reintroduce education and training so that we prepare a core or cadre of young people and adults who can serve the party based on knowledge and training. And I believe the party needs that because in recent times, there has been no training outside of some amount for the preparation of election. A political party should have consistent training. The other thing I think that people will resonate with people is the fact that I intend to make the party into a permanent election campaign machinery. In the recent past, what has happened is that the party campaigns, and after the election, it goes to sleep. And then it wakes up a year or two before election and start again. My approach will be different. My understanding of politics and grassroots politics is that you have to stay in constant contact with your base and work with that base and ensure that that base is being educated. Your opponents are being exposed and you agitate against your opponents with the aim of keeping the government busy and at the same time ensuring you have the kind of campaign machinery that whenever elections are called, you are ready and able and you are well prepared to defeat your opponents. And I believe a lot of people, or most people in the People's National Congress reform, they do not subscribe for this approach where you campaign, you go to sleep, and then you wake up before elections. And my intention is to build a party from the bottom up And as I build the party from the bottom up, I will engage our supporters. Our supporters like to know you engage them. I also believe that one of the hallmarks of recent political leaders around the PNC is their inaccessibility. And I've said to all the party members that I will ensure I am accessible, because I believe accessibility allows you to learn from the members, and at the same time it allows you to impart information to the members. So there's a symbiotic relationship between the leadership and the membership, and therefore the party can progress in the way that it should. So I believe those will resonate. And I'm not telling you this from theory. I have traveled the length and breadth of the country, and those are the things that the party comrades relate to, and they're very, very comfortable with. The other thing they are very comfortable with, which I've been talking to them and discussing with them, is to ensure that they, as activists in the areas, will be able to choose their representatives and the best people from the regions, the districts, and not allow people to sit at the center and appoint people, a lot of whom might have no link with the members of the party and the ordinary man, and therefore by the time they get to parliament or the regional or local democratic council, they are disconnected from our base. My intention is to ensure that those who emanate from the process are people pushed up by the people and the process, and that they are well prepared and disposed to serve the people of Guyana and not be alienated from the people. And I believe a lot of our supporters, members, want that to be this situation.
All right. Well said, Mr. Aubrey Norton here with us this evening, 4 minutes after 10 o'clock. Some of you support him, some of you are still on the fence, and some of you just do not support him. It's the nature of it's the nature of elections, and that is why these candidates are here to come and to talk about their plans, their policies, what they intend to implement, were they to become the leader of the People's National Congress in order to sway people over on their side. It's not a walk in the park. It's not an easy task, just like that. But let me ask you this, Mr. Norton. You are talking in terms of being a unifier, bringing people together in the party. Some of your opponents may say that you don't have a history of that within the party. How do you respond to them?
Well, all I would say to them, my history in the party has always been working with everybody. There are one and two persons who I think if you ask the party members, they will tell you that they work with nobody. I believe this is a case in which sometimes a lot of the people who are really the dividers in the party claim to be unifiers and send questions to journalists to ask you. But when you check their track record, they are really very, very divisive. I want to show you or illustrate to you my track record on the party. When I became General Secretary in 1997, on the 1st of January, there were hardly party comrades engaging the party. In fact, when the then leader spoke to me, he said to me, Mr. Desmond Hoyt, I'm making you the General Secretary, and the real task is to revitalize the party. I traveled this country, all regions, met with party people, and don't forget, this was a difficult time when Hamilton Green and Desmond Hoyt were at loggerheads. And I traveled the country, unified, mobilized our party comrades. And I want to say this, something I haven't said in public. At the time when Desmond Hoyt and Hamilton Green were on two different sides, every attempt that was made in the party to push me to criticize Hamilton Green and to condemn him, I always said in the party, I saw Hamilton Green as a person who served this party, was a member of the party, and I believe that we should work to resolve the problems. I also pointed out at that time that there were many persons in the party who should return to the party. And I remember vividly, most of them came back, but Robert Williams and Hamilton Green himself, the issue wasn't resolved, and so they didn't come back at the time. But I can say to you without fear of successful contradiction that in that process, I played the role of, while being general secretary, and there are these two sides, I developed a cordial relationship with both sides and contributed significantly to bridging the gap. And then finally, later, I was not there when Green actually returned, etc. And so I see myself as playing the role of bringing our party comrades together, because a lot of times I've stayed above the fray. I am one who I do not like petty politics. And a lot of times when people are involved in petty politics, I am not involved, and therefore I'll be in a position to help to unite the party. In fact, I said I spoke to Roysdale Ford. I'm speaking to a lot of the party comrades who support another candidate. And basically, what I say to them is that we have to see past this Congress, because after the Congress, all have got to work together, because the real task is not inside the PNC. The real task is to confront a discriminatory, corrupt, divisive regime that is suppressing and oppressing our people. And for me, that is the most fundamental task. And I will ensure that all the other differences are way below that particular challenge.
All right. In terms of working as general secretary to bridge that divide gap, Mr. Hamilton Green was expelled from the party. Mr. Green sees it otherwise. He left. He went on. He formed his own group, GGG. Mr. Robert Williams, who was the deputy mayor, also left with Mr. Hamilton Green. They later returned. But years later, after you would have left there as the general secretary of the party, what have you done as an executive member? And I was made to, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were part of some committee or some group to help to ensure that people like Vanessa Kissoon and others are reinstated into the party. How successful were you? Because obviously, Ms. Kissoon is not a member of the party still.
Well, my position from the inception of the Kissoon affair was that the Constitution set out what should have happened in that circumstance, and that the attempt to deal with her arbitrarily was misplaced. And so I've consistently argued that the party procedure should have been followed and the Vanessa Kissoon issue would have been solved. Let it be placed on the records that when I was asked to manage the election campaign, I think for the 2011 campaign in Linden, I worked with Vanessa Kissoon. In fact, I think I was the person who went, spoke with Sharma Solomon to come to the party. And therefore, I had no problem with Sharma Solomon and Vanessa Kissoon. And therefore, for me, Vanessa Kissoon should have been in the party.
Okay, good. But she's not in the party. She was in the party. She's not in the party now at all. She hasn't been for years. We haven't been hearing much talk about that. Nevertheless, you have said what you've said. When you say,
Well, I would say to you, when becoming leader of the party, Vanessa
Sure.
Kissoon will have no problems being in the party.
I know. Good. Now, let me ask you this. You said that you brought Sharma Solomon into into what? Into politics, into the PNC? Can you explain that part?
I would say this to you. When I became the campaign manager, I had indicated at the time that I wanted to see in Linden some young leaders. I remember talking to 3 leaders. I can name them for you. Jamin Figuera. There was a young man named Collie Hercules who said he was going overseas and he would not have been able to. And Sharma Solomon. And I thought they all had abilities, but for a number of reasons, I opted for Sharma Solomon and recommended to the party that Sharma Solomon be the person that should lead the region at the time.
All right. There seem to be some contradictory stories with that, but you're not here for that. Sharma Solomon, I'm told, was a member of the YSM since 1992. He got into politics through Mortimer Mingo. He was campaign secretary, I believe, in 2011, but he may think otherwise. That
2000, 2011 is the campaign in which I was the campaign manager in Linden. I wouldn't go down the road of saying he was or he was not a member of the YSM. I don't know. By that time, I was out of the YSM. But what I do know, I was the person who spoke with him and others to come to the leadership of the PNC in Region 10. And that cannot be contradicted.
All right. Maybe Sharma has a different version, but that's okay. Let's move on. I have noticed in terms of some comments by some folks who purport to support you, Aubrey Compton Norton, that a vote for one of your opponent is a vote. That is a vote for Harmon is a vote for the PPP. Do you believe that?
I wouldn't make a statement like that. The only statement I will make is that I know the People's Progressive Party has taken a position that they don't want Aubrey Norton. But I would not make the statement you are suggesting.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I got you on that. 14 minutes after. Let me give you another opportunity in terms of let the people hear your views on women's issues. That's one. And how do you intend to attract young people who are not members of the party, who are probably preparing to vote for the first time next elections? How will you, were you to become the leader and subsequently the presidential candidate, how will you attract young people to the party?
Well, first of all, there are a number of ways you can attract young people. First, I have been a lecturer at the University of Guyana. Second, I have worked as presidential advisor youth empowerment and trained a lot of young people. And many of those young people have said to me, once I become leader of the party, they will come to the party. So I think my track record will attract. I also believe that a lot of young people are of the view that they will get a fair chance under my leadership. And I think that will attract young people. But most importantly, young people like you to listen to them. And I intend to be a listening leader. And they like when they give you ideas and you utilize it, you give them credit. I'm prepared to do that. I have always argued that young people are resources to develop. And I would shift the paradigm away from treating young people as a problem and treat them as a resource to develop, that with the right exposure and mentoring, they will blossom as good leaders and take us forward. So I believe I can attract young people. In addition, I intend to train many young people, but most importantly, I intend to work to produce a Guyana Youth and Student Movement, the GYSM, like we had in the 70s and 80s. And that is one of the tasks I intend to take on personally, to go into communities and to begin to speak to people, young people. I was in East Rhine Valley the other day and talking with young people, and many of them are disposed once they are taught what is the YSM and you create the programs, etc., for them to become part of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. And I will have a clear approach of working with young people, training them, and ensuring we develop a Guyana Youth and Student Movement that will become the fountainhead of producing youths to replace the adults in the party. I am very pleased that I got into politics at a very young age, and I learned a lot in politics long before I arrived at the university. And so I think there are ways and means that we can attract them.
Lots of ways and means to attract them. 18 minutes after 10 o'clock. I know, Mr. Norton, you've had a busy day. You continue to campaign every single day for the leadership of the People's National Congress reform. Let me just remind our listeners that we at 107.1 FM, we have offered Mr. Aubrey Norton 1 day per week with a rebroadcast program. So he will have his own campaign show right here on 107.1 FM up until Congress, free of charge, Mr. Aubrey Norton, so that you can talk about all the good things you have in store for the party in bringing the party back together. I think a lot of people are impressed, including me, with this YSM move. The YSM seems to have been dormant for many, many years now. And it's pleasing that you are going, or you plan to go that direction, were you to be elected. Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Norton. Let us say on Congress Day that things do not go your way. What will be your position and what will be your message to your supporters in terms of the way forward?
Well, first of all, I believe that I will beat whoever are my opponents. But if perchance the impossible may occur, I have always been a committed party member. I have always worked with the party. And once it was a clear case that another opponent would have won, I will have no problem working with those persons or person.
Yep, and it's so nice to hear that. I hope all of the other candidates are willing to say that as well, to put their campaign aside once they have lost, to say, look, it's been a good battle. And if you win, they should say that it was indeed a good battle. Here is time for all of them to work under the leadership of Aubrey, Compton, Norton, or vice versa, the other way around with the other candidates. So good of you to say that. Again, it's a question that I will be asking the other candidates. We know in elections time, whether it's for national or general elections, party Congress as well, debates are healthy so that we can hear policies from all of the candidates, not just a one-sided thing that Aubrey's the man, Aubrey's the man, Aubrey's the man, Aubrey's the man. I'm not going to just buy that as the only way to vote or support Aubrey because people are saying Aubrey's the man, Aubrey's the man. We want to know why Aubrey's the man. You have outlined a lot of things as to why you are the man and why people should vote for you. We want to hear the other candidates as well. I know you don't run away from debating and so forth. Some people call you a maverick debater, but are you willing to have a debate with all of the other candidates?
I said on I think it was David Hines' show that I am disposed to debating anyone once the debate is organized and it is fair. I am prepared to debate anyone. I believe from my involvement in the party, from my knowledge of the party, from my general understanding of politics, I will be a force to contend with. And so I am well disposed to debate. I believe I can handle the international issues. I can handle the local issues. And so I don't see debate as a problem. In fact, I believe in these activities, including general elections, there should be proper presidential debates.
There should be a debate, and we'd love to see that debate. And we at 107.1 FM, we are willing to give all of the candidates that forum, that opportunity, so that persons on the ground can hear it too via their radio. 2 hours, 3 hours to debate each other so that people can make that choice based on policies, issues. What is Mr. Aubrey's Norton position on women? What is his position on the LGBTQ community? What is his position on young people? What is his position on teachers and all of these things? How will he make the party different from the other leaders and so forth? We want to hear from all of the candidates. And I'm saying that is democracy. And that is why I have Mr. Norton here this evening, not to ask him soft pop questions and not to massage him so that some of you people who support him, are comfortable with the massaging. Aubrey Norton, the guy that I know doesn't like to be massaged politically. I don't know otherwise, but he just doesn't like that. It's the nature of democracy. I have been interviewing Aubrey Norton for years now. So I am no Johnny come lately in this game. And I don't want anybody to box me in a corner into saying that I should say whether I support Aubrey Norton or not. At this point, it is irrelevant whether I support him or not. I want to ask him questions, and some tough questions, mind you. But before we go, why do you suppose that you will win these elections over the others?
Well, first of all, I think I have consistently worked with party comrades over the years. I think party comrades have accepted that even when I was sidelined and sometimes ill-treated, I stayed with the party and worked with the party. I didn't opt to go to any other political party. I like to remind people that I campaigned in 2001 and was not placed on the list, though many people felt I should have been on the list. And even after that, I continued to work assiduously for the party, knowing full well that there was no option of me going to parliament or anything. So for me, it's commitment. Look, I think we need to return the party to a place where party matters, where commitment to the party is important. Too regularly, people see themselves, and if they get what they want, they go on to another political party, or they just dung tools. I do not believe that, and I think a lot of our members support that view. And so I think they will vote for me on that. At the various levels I operated in the party, for instance, when I was Georgetown district chairman, I reintroduced education and training to the district. And up until now, comrades still tell me that they remember the training seminars we had. And I believe a lot of our supporters want training, and they see me as a person who will do training and improve the performance of the party. And I think they will vote for me for that. I also believe that, in their opinion, the PPP has nothing on me, can accuse me of nothing. Well, they can accuse, but not truthfully. And so a lot of people believe I'm well positioned to take on the People's Progressive Party and will vote for me. I also believe that they believe that I can articulate their positions, defend them, and promote their interests. And so I think that also will will result in them voting for me. Many of our party members and supporters have always argued that they need a leader that they can access. And I believe that many of them know that I'm accessible. And I had an experience last night. Last night, I said I was accessible. And when the program was over, two people called. And the first one called and said, okay, I just called him to see if you're accessible. I didn't know the number. And the second one called saying the same thing, but the second one had something to say to me. And so I believe our party comrades believe that in the last 5 years, a lot of the leadership was aloof and inaccessible. One member of the party told me they had the bad experience of going to minister's office and they were just rushed out in no time. And in some cases, they had no access. And so I believe a lot of them will vote to be able to access their leaders. And among other things, I believe I will get the support of our party comrades because they genuinely believe I have an interest in the party. I will put the party first and strategically position the party to beat the People's Progressive Party and return to power. And I believe in those circumstances, people will be well disposed to vote for Aubrey Norton as leader of the People's National Congress Reform.
Mr. Aubrey Norton, Aubrey Compton Norton. Let me just ask,
I must tell you, I prefer Aubrey C to Aubrey Compton, but it's okay.
I hear you, Aubrey. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Aubrey. Let me ask you this. You go to bed tonight. You wake up tomorrow morning. Of course, you know, we want you to wake up tomorrow morning. And you hear that Valda and Lawrence decides to step into the race. Do you think that that will be a challenge to you becoming the next leader of the party?
All I would say to you, I treat everybody as a challenge. I treat everybody as a challenge. I have been in discussions with Comrade Lawrence, and if Comrade Lawrence comes into the ring, well, so be it. I treat everybody as a challenge. I have spoken with Comrade Lawrence, and we know where we are, and I'm comfortable.
Very comfortable indeed. Before we go, Mr. Norton, look, it's always a pleasure. We traveled together. We went places together. I don't want people to think that I am your enemy, right? Whether I endorsed you or not, or whether I endorse anybody or not, it is my job. And the other candidates will come here and I will grill them equally. Before I go, I recall the 2020 elections, or leading up to the 2020 elections. Something horrible happened. It should not have happened. It just should not have happened. You were present there, I do believe, at Plaisance during the campaign when Miss Vanessa Kissoon was removed from the stage and denied an opportunity to speak. Were you comfortable with that?
No, and I could not have been comfortable. In fact, Miss Vanessa Kissoon was there. She was on the program. But it is the kind of petty politics that I'm talking about that we need to move away from. What I can say is that when I heard what happened, I knew the source of it. And so I understood it, but I did not agree and appreciate it.
What did you do?
What did I do? There was nothing I could have done. It wasn't a case where I was in charge of the meeting. I was a speaker just like Vanessa Kissoon. But when I met inside the party, I gave my position on the issue. And I've always given my position on the issue in the party of Vanessa Kissoon.
Mr. Norton, thank you so much for your time, sir. I really appreciate it. Don't be a stranger. Like I said, you guys will see Mr. Norton right here on 107.1 FM with his campaign movers, to talk more about his campaign, to talk about his plans for the party, and possibly his plans for the country. It's good to hear from all sides. It's good to hear from Mr. Norton. It's good to hear from the other candidates as well. Before we go, Mr. Norton, take this time to, in your closing remarks, to maybe talk about something that you wanted your listeners, our listeners, to hear about that I may have failed to ask you in your closing remarks, sir.
I think one of the things I want the listeners to understand is that I don't have to reconnect with the people. I've always been connected to people. I will always be connected to people. I will continue to be connected to the party and people. And therefore, in my opinion, you can see me as a grassroots type politician that has the capacity to represent you and to do the work that is necessary to position the People's National Congress and ultimately the coalition to remove the People's Progressive Party from office.
All right, Aubrey. Thank you so much for your time. Again, I wish you and your campaign all the best. You will be back here as a guest as well on Straight Up sometime very, very soon. Thank you so much, Aubrey. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening, you and your audience.
Thank you, sir. All right, Aubrey Compton Norton, Aubrey C. Norton there, talking about something that is kind of like a little troublesome. In fact, Vanessa Kissoon being told that she cannot speak at a campaign rally in Plaisance where she was born. A campaign rally. Huh? But Mr. Aubrey Norton said he was just a speaker. He was just a speaker. Mr. Orton was also the chairman, I believe, of the membership committee. I don't know what was done to have Miss Vanessa Kissoon back in the party. I don't know what was done to have Sharma Solomon back into the party, because Vanessa Kissoon and Sharma Solomon back in 2011 and other folks were able to bring home the entire Region 10. It was a collective work in terms of bringing home. Those individuals played a major role in 2011 and also in 2015 for Region 10 to bring home that victory to the coalition. It's unfortunate that they are being treated like that. I've asked Mr. Granger that very question about Sharma Solomon and Miss Vanessa Kissoon. Everybody seemed to be skirting around the issue. But as you've heard from Aubrey Norton, things will be different when he becomes, or if he were to become leader of the party. Quite a good response in terms of a candidate, right? But many people will still ask why for years it took for this matter to be resolved. If the matter could have been resolved today, then quite possibly Sharma Solomon would have gotten into the race, maybe for chairman of the party, maybe for leader of the party, or maybe for some other position. But Sharma Solomon is being denied of that opportunity. I don't know if, I don't know, mind you, if some of the candidates are comfortable with that, but I am not too pleased about that at all. Ms. Vanessa Kissoon can fit in any position as well. Maybe chairwoman, maybe vice chair, maybe part of the central executive, and so forth. Because these are people who never walked away from the party as well. These are people who put up a fight. They were there. They were on the ground in Region 10. They stuck with their party, even though their party kicked them out. They stuck with their party. They stuck with their region. And I agree with Mr. Norton that it is time that they, the PNC, unite. They unite. Mr. Norton says he's the guy for that. Van West Charles is saying he's the guy for that. Joseph Frederick Harmon is saying he's the guy for that. I don't know. We'll have all of them on so that you guys can decide who is that person to become the next leader of the People's National Congress reform. I know a lot of you guys are excited about that because you want these trenches in the PPP, the installed regime, to be confronted. You need that sort of aggression in terms of politics. You're not seeing it. But can Aubrey Norton take it beyond aggression? That is why I've invited him so that he can talk to you, to see whether he can take it beyond just aggression or confrontation and so forth. We'll hear from the other candidates. Let me see some of your comments. Deborah McDonald, good evening to you. Brian Wood, I don't know Brian Wood, nah. Gary Greenwich, here is what Gary Greenwich is saying. Mark, who can by stroke of a pen reinstall Vanessa Kissoon? I kind of like that, right? Who can, in a stroke of a pen? Good evening to the folks at Intellect Storm. I like that company, Intellect Storm. Good people, good young people. Good evening to all of you there. Now, you have a point, Gary. You have a point. But a lot of these candidates, they were there. They could have pitched their position stronger. But a lot of them didn't want to. Let's be honest about that. A lot of them didn't want to. Because let us say if Sharma Solomon is given back his party card, guess what would happen? Guess what would happen? Sharma Solomon would throw his hat in the race. You guys are talking about young people. Sharma Solomon
himself in Region 10. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect, but he proved himself, along with Vanessa Kissoon, who wasn't perfect also. But they're fighters, real fighters. They fight in the trenches. They're grassroots people and beyond grassroots as well. And it's a shame that to this day, their membership card or membership of the party is hanging. And all we can hear is when people become leader, they will take care of that. This is not to disrespect anybody who says when they become leader, they'll deal with that. It is not. Hey. Honestly, I wish people like Sharma Solomon was in that race. That's all I wish to say now. But thank you all so much. Thank you to all of you. Eldon, how are you? Eldon, Kendall, Harvey. Who else? I can just say a quick hello to Charles and all the crew. Listen to this from Desiree Mars. Desiree Mars. Good evening to you, Desiree. Desiree says she didn't want to hear nobody else speak. Aubrey for she, and that's it. That's it. You know, some of us believe in a different politics, man. We need to hear from all of the candidates, every single one of them. I noticed they're saying that Van West Charles is a new V2. He just come. Lots of different things we're seeing. Lots of things that we're seeing and we're hearing. But I'll bring the candidates them up here. I'll bring the candidates. But again, I'll just say, it's sad. It's sad what is happening. It is sad what is happening as in regards to Sharma Solomon and Vanessa Kissoon being out of the party for so long. They worked hard in 2011 to bring home that victory. It was a team of these guys. Sharma Solomon, Vanessa Kissoon, some young people there in 2011, Aubrey Norton. It was a team, all of them, not one man or one woman. It was a team. That's the spirit, team spirit. But it breaks my heart that they are out. I've got to go, man. I've got to go. I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. Let me see here. Kenneth Freeman, Mark, only Congress members can vote anyway, so our opinion does not really matter. You know, let me say this to you, Mr. Freeman. Of course, your opinions matter. People's opinions matter. That is why, you know, we have this show. I don't disagree with a man or a woman for choosing Aubrey, Van West Charles, or Harman, or whoever else jump in the race. I don't. People are entitled to their opinions. People are entitled to their choice to vote for whomever. If the head of Intellect Storm wants to run for the president of the country, if you guys want to vote for him, go and vote for him. Go and vote for Rowan. Vote for whomever. But listen to the other side, meaning the other candidates. Listen to the other candidates. Listen. Don't shut out people. That's what I'm saying. But some of you guys already shut people out. I can't tell you all anything. I just have to smile. But, you know, all of you, remember, let's agree to disagree. We might not agree on everything. We might not agree on everything, right? And that's the nature of democracy. We all can't agree on everything. Look, somebody say, Mark, you in here, Schumann, whatever it is, out calling on Ali to media. Schumann is a waste of time, man. Waste of time. I don't even know why you guys mention him. A waste of time. I prefer you guys mention my friend from underneath the clock. I think she's the young lady, man, that is there. The young lady that's there, man, a good lady. Some of the DJ guys and stuff, they put her up on social media. I have more respect for her. I have more respect for the vendors than I have for somebody like Schumann.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Schumann. I gotta go, man. I gotta go. I love you guys so much. I'll be back tomorrow. Same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. I haven't played the closing song in a while, so I might as well play it because the videos now, these days. Somebody sent this photo of Sharma Solomon. They wanted Sharma Solomon to run for leader, but let me remind you guys that he can't. He can't run for leader. These are the people who brought home Linden, the victory to Linden. Anyways, Lindeners. I gotta go though. Love you all. God bless you. Mark is a mischievous guy. Some of you guys, right?
Pulling on. I feeling. up a sweat until I soaking wet. Rub your body, show no mercy, because I'm feeling tipsy, I'm feeling freaky. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body.